This is today's do now. So what you're going to do is just identify the properties of equality that are being used here in the model on the right. So here you can see here we have x plus 2 equals 4, and they introduce two negatives on both sides. So this one right here would be subtraction property of equality, because again, they're taking away 2 from both sides. So again, that's letter B, subtraction property of equality. Number 2, same question. They want to know what property is being used. Here we have 2x equals 4. They split these up into two groups. Split these up into two equal groups. By splitting it up into two equal groups on both sides, this is called division property of equality. Same question on number 3. We started off with y over 4. And now here we have 4 copies of the y over 4. Over here we have 2 negatives. Here we have 8 negatives. So on both sides, they multiply both sides by 4. Right? Multiple of 4 and a multiple of that of 4. So this is a multiplication property of equality. Notice even though we're adding things on both sides, we're not adding the same thing on both sides. So here's what I mean. If you look at number 4, here we have y minus 2 equals negative 2. Now they introduce 2 positives here and 2 positives here. So we're adding 2 on both sides. This is addition property of equality. So this is the addition property because we're adding the same amount to both sides. Here we're not adding the same thing on both sides. We're multiplying this by 4, so we're making 4 copies of that. And on this side, we're making 4 copies of that. So we're introducing 2 different things on both sides. So this is why this is multiplication property of equality. And then here is today's classwork. Today's classwork, you're going to be representing each of these equations that were solved using algebra tiles. You're going to represent it algebraically. So the first thing you can do is write down the equation. This one here you can see is x plus 4 equals positive 4. So that was given, so I'll write down given for that. Here we can see we have 4 negatives here and 4 negatives here, so they take away 4 on both sides. So algebraically, I subtracted 4 on the left side, subtracted 4 on the right side. This is subtraction property of equality. Next, you can see we combine all the 0 pairs together, so we have 4 0 pairs here and here. So we're left with x plus 0 equals 0. So this is called simplifying by combining the 0 pairs. And then in the last step, you can see we're just left with x equal to 0. So this right here would be our solution. Here's problem number 2. We're going to represent this algebraically. What's the equation? So here's my equation. Negative 4 plus x equals negative 6. Here you can see here in the next step, they added 4 positives on both sides. So I'm going to write down negative 4 plus x, and then negative 6 plus 4. So again, I added 4 positives on both sides, as you can see here. Next, I can see they combine the 0 pairs. So 4 0 pairs, we end up with 0 here. Combine these 0 pairs here, and we're left with 2 negatives left over. So you can see here, 0 plus x equals negative 2. And you're left with x equals negative 2 as your solution. So don't forget, on your last column, you're going to write down given, because that was what was given to us. That's our given equation. Here, again, we ended up adding 4 positives on both sides. So this is the addition property of equality. Next, we combine 0 pairs. So this is simply called simplify. And then in the last step, we're just presented with our solution. Once you have x by itself, you have your solution. So x equals negative 2. All right, here we have our third problem. So we're given the equation 3x equals 15. So algebraically, again, that just means you're not using pictures. 3x equals 15 is a given equation. And that's what I'll put for my property. I'll put down it was my given equation. Next, I can see they split this up into 3 equal groups on both sides. When we split up 3 equal groups algebraically, the way we show this is the division property of equality. So I'm going to put down we're dividing this side by 3 and this side by 3. And again, this is going to be division property of equality. And you can see here that each x matches up with 5 1s. So we are going to put our final answer, x equals positive 5. So essentially, this is basically simplifying. And we also have our solution. So we have both presented here. We simplified, and after we simplify, we can see our solution, x equals 5. Here's our last problem, x over 3 equals positive 4. So I'll write down my equation here, and that was given to us, so I'll put that for my reason given. In the next step, I can see they multiply this side by 3, right, because we have 3 copies of it now. And we multiply this side by 3 also because we have 3 copies of that one. So to show that algebraically, I'm going to show that I'm multiplying this side by 3. So 3 times this amount and 3 times that amount. So again, both sides were multiplied by 3. And this is multiplication property of equality since we multiplied both sides by 3. And then here I can see that when you merge these together, 3 of these together make one whole amount. And then we're just still left with 12 over here. So we get x equal to 12. So 3 of these make x, one whole amount, and is equal to 12. And here we're just simplifying. when we did this work, we simplified it, and this also happens to be our solution, x equals 12.